We have never seen this before as the Rangers play continues to spiral out of control, going 2-8 in their last 10 games. Fans are left wondering what it's going to take to get this team back on track, and we may have some answers from Peter Laviolette in this video, and we're going to break it all down. But before we do, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. About 70% of you who watch these videos are not actually subscribed to the channel. So if you want to do yourself a favor, hit that subscribe button. It's free and you get to stay up to date with everything New York Rangers. And that's right. I can't remember the last time that the Rangers kind of went through something like this where they were, expected to be contenders and then kind of fell apart, mid-season. We're not even halfway through the season right now, but things are not looking too good. But there was something interesting I want to get into today. They're playing the Buffalo Sabres tonight, and the Buffalo Sabres have not been good. The New York Rangers have lost 8 of their last 10. The Buffalo Sabres have lost 7 in a row. So they're playing the Buffalo Sabres tonight in Buffalo. This is a chance to really get back on track. And apparently from Molly Walker and some other sources, some other insiders involved with the New York Rangers, I should say, the Rangers were kind of keeping it light at morning skate this morning. A couple of the guys, Shesterkin was doing some figure skating. Some of the guys seemed like they were trying to keep it light. And I think that's something that the Rangers have to do. I think that they have to get away from the negativity as much as they possibly can, but focus in on trying to make things fun again and trying to pick up some wins here, play some detailed hockey. And they held a bit of a team meeting here at Center A. So I thought this was very interesting. I haven't seen this from the Rangers in a long time, and don't see this from many teams unless they're absolutely struggling. So the Rangers are doing exactly that. Peter Laviolette calls a little bit of a team huddle here. They had a couple words together, and then, of course, they kind of separated at the end, did a little team chant, whatever you want to call it, and kind of separated there. So I thought that was very interesting that this happened. I am very interested to see what happens in the game tonight, because this is a team that desperately needs to get back on track with a win. And not much has been going well for the New York Rangers as of late, but I don't think any of it really falls. I shouldn't say any of it, but I don't think firing Peter Laviolette, which is something a lot of fans have brought up and has been in question the last couple days and weeks, firing Peter Laviolette is the answer here. And this is from Jeff Merrick and obviously Johnny Lazarus as well. Somewhere, Gerard Gallant is saying to himself, see, I told you. It's not the coaching. What's the common denominator here? And really, it's the core group of players. They've gone through 3 coaches to this point. If you fire Peter Laviolette, it would be the 4th coach with this core. And they have found some success to a degree with 2 Eastern Conference finals with Gerard Gallant in 2022 and then obviously Peter Laviolette last season. But I don't think it's the coaching at this point in time. I don't know if firing Peter Laviolette is going to help this team that much more or even give them that much more juice. The answer is in the room, and I think that's kind of what this was about this morning, that, let's come together here. Let's start making things fun again, start making things light again, and get after some wins here. There's no better opportunity than tonight. If you lose tonight, then yes, I am quite worried. I'm already worried, but I would be quite worried if they lose tonight. But I think tonight is a real opportunity to start feeling good about yourself. But again, like I was mentioning, I think it's less about the coaching and more about the players and the accountability thing. And I think Peter Laviolette has to hold a couple of these guys a little bit more accountable. And Brian Boyle thinks the same. Former Ranger Brian Boyle had this to say as well on the latest in the Blue Seats pod or the latest Blue Seats pod. There needs to be more accountability, not punishment. If you don't do these non-negotiable things, physicality, closing defensively, committing, I would even say team defense, like just committing to the little things, the details plays, chipping the puck out, stuff like Zibanejad messed up on last game, or Zibanejad, I should say, messed up last game, like rimming it around the boards, not doing it hard enough, and then obviously Bertuzzi scores, and that's the game. The little things like that. It's sit for a period, then it's sit for a game. So I think Peter Laviolette has to be a little more stern with a couple of these guys. And I also thought this quote was very interesting from Peter Laviolette this morning. This is from Molly Walker, and this is Peter Laviolette on the power play. And this goes into, the accountability thing. And obviously they've been really struggling as of late. They have not been scoring at all on the power play. It's really dried up. And there's been some movement. We've had players out of the lineup. We've had other players on there. I wouldn't say it was more effective or less effective. There is some history with that group. You try to balance those things. At the end of the day, they do get into the offensive zone. They do spend a lot of time there looking for opportunities. And I would say, like our 5-on-5 game, we're finding it a little more difficult right now. We just got to stay with it. And I could agree with that, but I thought that was very interesting. Speaking of some players that are struggling, I think there's a lot of criticism, I think a lot of criticism got to Zibanejad. He's very sensitive, way too sensitive to what other people are saying about him. It gets in his head and he spirals. And that, of course, was from Larry Brooks. That was making the rounds yesterday as well. I think that's very interesting. That's something that Zibanejad has to, he has to just focus on his game. His teammates have to help him and support him, the coaching staff as well. He has to, stay away from everything that's said, the outside noise. He needs to continue to focus on his game and get better each and every day, because we know the level he can play at when he first came to New York. And again, that has dipped over the last couple seasons. And this season, I thought I saw something the other day that he's on pace for 63 points this year. Not good enough. So he has to figure that out himself too and get back on track. And the Rangers quietly, maybe not quietly, but quietly around the league, I guess, have fallen out of a playoff spot here. They're now on the outside looking in on a playoff spot, and a 10-6 and I believe it was 2 start to the season or something around that those lines. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but has quickly turned into a 14-12 and 1 start. Sorry, it was only 1. It's not 2. But I believe it was something like that, like a 10-6 and 1 start, which is pretty good. It turned quickly into 14-12 and 1, which is not great. For 29 points, they've slowly slipped out of the playoff picture in the Eastern Conference. And I thought this was interesting as well too, about the future of the New York Rangers. And if guys are, this has been making the rounds as well, and I haven't really seen this ever before. And I'm sure it's come up in conversations, but it hasn't really made headline news for days on end. And that is obviously what happened to Barclay Goodrow and what happened to Jacob Trouba. Some people are tending to believe that some free agents may not want to sign in New York now for that reason. I don't know if that's necessarily true. I think New York is a destination. A lot of people would want to play for the team, want to play in New York. I think that it's definitely a destination, and I don't know if I agree with a lot of this that's been going on the last couple days. I do believe some players would still want to play for the New York Rangers, and I'm not sure they're going to have a huge problem attracting free agents in the future. And we're going to get into some trade targets and some free agent targets in another video that I think is very interesting, that the Rangers should already be looking into, because this season looks like they need some help. They're going to need a couple pieces to get going here, because, of course, the first half of the season, the first 6 games, they were first in goals per game, 5.17. Now they are 25th in the league, 2.62. So that's dried up quite a bit. Again, I think it's in the room. They were playing really well to start the season. They're just minus Jacob Trouba now. They have to be able to figure it out. I think it's a mental thing at this point. I think most fans would agree with that sentiment. And finally, before we wrap up, I did want to mention that, happy retirement to Kevin Shattenkirk, the former New York Ranger and former, Boston Bruins, St. Louis Blue, Colorado Avalanche, played in a bunch of places, was a former New York Ranger at one point. So just wanted to wish him a happy retirement, because he is a former New York Ranger. And some fans will have, anything to say about any given player, but he was a New York Ranger. So happy retirement to Kevin Shattenkirk. But let me know what you think in the comments of this. I thought this was very, very interesting this morning. And I don't think it's the coaching, but I do think that, the coaching do have to hold, the coaching staff and Peter Laviolette have to hold a couple players more accountable. But let me know what you think in the comments. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything New York Rangers.